Okay, it's time now for our last call. A 20-something's TikTok video is going viral. Brielle is a recent college graduate, and she's working at her first job. And just like that Dolly Parton song, this 22-year-old is talking about the stresses of working a 9-to-5.
The findings show recent college grads are not emotionally ready for the workforce. ABC 7 News reporter Amanda Del Castillo is breaking down the reasons why and what it might mean for our future working world.
Today, we explore the sobering thesis of "your job achieves nothing," a provocative exploration into the paradox of modern work culture. Imagine the hours spent in fluorescent-lit offices, the flurry of emails exchanged, the meetings that seem to multiply like weeds. Now, envision a world where these activities, once hailed as pillars of progress, are revealed to be mere shadows cast by the illusion of productivity. As we unravel the layers of this existential conundrum, we confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of work, value, and fulfillment in an age of perpetual motion. What I'm asking is, what impact do you have? What do you create, improve, or contribute to? For some, answering this question might be straightforward, but for others, like middle managers overseeing HR teams at insurance companies, it might be more challenging. In the last century, the proportion of service jobs has skyrocketed, now making up nearly 80% of all employment. When we think of service jobs, we often envision people serving coffee, assisting with clothing purchases, or delivering luggage to hotel rooms. While these services may seem like luxuries to some, they undeniably create value, whether through a satisfying cup of coffee, a stylish new outfit, or efficient luggage delivery, without the need for a trip to the physiotherapist the next day. However, the service sector is much broader than its name suggests, encompassing everyone from call center representatives to CEOs. Indeed, finding employment outside of the service sector has become increasingly challenging, primarily due to the demand for specialized certifications. Remember this point because it holds significance. However, the expansion of the self-serving service sector, along with the emergence of bull jobs, appears somewhat peculiar. One would expect the efficient free market to eliminate individuals who contribute nothing, penalizing companies that incur their salary expenses while rewarding organizations that operate more efficiently without them. However, that's not the case. Let's start by examining Soviet communism. The foundation of the Soviet Union rested on the principle of valuing labor. The state propagated the idea that work was honorable and dignified. The term Soviet roughly translates to a workers' council, and people prioritized their labor above all else. However, this approach led to challenges when there wasn't enough employment opportunities available for everyone. The pursuit of full employment resulted in some individuals being assigned redundant tasks. Factory managers hired as many workers as possible because overseeing the labor of numerous comrades was considered honorable. They also feared that if they didn't provide jobs at present, they might struggle to recruit the necessary workforce in the future. This practice, known as worker hoarding, led to instances where individuals were assigned trivial tasks, such as counting endless inventories of nuts and bolts. While there are significant differences between the modern Western world and 1950s Russia, there are also troubling similarities to consider. The concept of entirely unnecessary jobs gained significant attention following the publication of anthropologist David Graeber's book, Bull Jobs. In his book, Graeber identified 5 broad categories of jobs that had become increasingly prevalent. First, he discussed flunkies, which encompass individuals like doormen, receptionists, chauffeurs, and assistants. These roles primarily serve to enhance the status or convenience of others, and could potentially be replaced by technology, or even deemed unnecessary altogether. Next, Graeber identified duct tapers, who are tasked with temporarily fixing problems that could be resolved permanently. For example, he mentioned an inventory manager responsible for manually updating stock levels in a warehouse, a task that could be automated or delegated to other staff members. Graeber highlighted cases where duct tapers were employed to rectify errors made by highly regarded professionals, such as statisticians. In reality, this star employee turned out to be ineffective, and the duct tape had to navigate bureaucratic hurdles to rectify their mistakes before any damage could occur. This example illustrates that simply eliminating the person in the redundant job may not always be the solution. The duct taper likely contributed some value, but removing unnecessary obstacles would have allowed them to create value more effectively. However, the same cannot be said for the next category on the list of jobs, the box tickers. These individuals comprise a legion of mindless workers in large corporations worldwide. They serve the purpose of lending an air of legitimacy to their companies in the eyes of other corporate entities. Consider those who compile internal company newsletters featuring stories about key executives or other trivial matters. Few people actually read these publications, and that's precisely the intention. Yet, if a company were to lack an internal newsletter, a party planning committee, or a culture coordinator, it might appear insignificant to potential business partners or job seekers. Now, let's delve into the more egregious examples of unnecessary jobs. Goons is a term of endearment given to a category of jobs that have a detrimental impact on society, yet manage to make themselves indispensable simply by their existence. One classic example of this phenomenon is in-house corporate lawyers. While they don't produce tangible goods or services, their absence could lead to significantly higher costs for hiring external legal counsel to defend against lawsuits from companies that do employ internal corporate lawyers. A prime illustration of this is the prevalence of patent trolls, companies that acquire patents in bulk and then pursue legal action against other companies, often leading to out-of-court settlements. Even major corporations are complicit in perpetuating this negative-sum game. For instance, Apple famously sued Samsung over a patent related to a rectangular phone with rounded corners. Regardless of one's stance on patents and intellectual property, it's worth questioning the value generated by the thousands of people whose sole occupation revolved around enforcing such rulings. In addition to lawyers, some lobbyists advocate for altering the rules of the game, and salespeople whose primary role is to facilitate business transactions between companies, effectively acting as intermediaries. While goons may seem problematic, they pale in comparison to the most egregious among this group of redundant workers: the taskmasters. These individuals are tasked with overseeing and managing employees who arguably do not require supervision. While effective management certainly has its place, especially in coordinating diverse skill sets, the necessity of a sales manager overseeing a team of employees with identical job titles is questionable. At best, they may serve as overpaid motivators, encouraging employees to work harder in roles that may not inherently require such oversight. At worst, they become distractions, attempting to justify their existence by calling unnecessary meetings and crafting strategic mission statements that ultimately achieve little besides diverting attention from meaningful work. These roles are not mutually exclusive. In fact, some particularly redundant employees may find that their role encompasses all 5 of these characteristics. Many middle managers oversee departments that lack fundamental purpose, existing solely due to the convoluted corporate hierarchy that gratifies higher-ups. However, this begs the question: how did we arrive at this point? The Soviet Union prioritized job creation as a matter of national pride and ideology, ensuring that every individual had a role in the workforce. However, capitalist systems are meant to offer more efficiency, yet they often fall prey to similar bureaucratic tendencies. While it would benefit companies to streamline operations and eliminate unnecessary tasks, the incentives for decision-makers may not always align with this goal. Similar to Soviet factory workers who inflated their importance by hoarding staff, modern middle managers may engage in similar behavior. Just as Soviet propaganda adorned factory walls with praise for laborers, today's LinkedIn profiles often feature self-aggrandizing narratives about spearheading projects to enhance corporate efficiency. Likewise, while the Soviet Union focused on ensuring everyone had work, even if it meant creating meaningless jobs, modern workplaces are fixated on maintaining full 40-hour work weeks, even if it entails inventing meaningless tasks. Before delving into the bureaucratic complexities, it's essential to acknowledge that countries like the USA do not operate under completely free markets. There are numerous laws and regulations governing various aspects of business activities. For instance, establishing a factory requires adherence to zoning regulations for industrial areas, conducting appropriate tenders for construction contracts, obtaining necessary insurance, and complying with tariffs and excise duties for international shipments. Each of these steps involves interactions with large institutions, which in turn contribute to job creation. This isn't to advocate for either big government or small government, as some policies are undoubtedly crucial. However, companies also play a significant role in shaping this regulatory landscape. The proliferation of lobbying has resulted in the enactment of more legislation, making it increasingly challenging for businesses of all sizes to thrive without the assistance of accountants and lawyers to navigate the bureaucratic maze. While some may argue that this benefits large corporations by hindering potential competitors, it's not productive to assign blame. Instead, society could consider embracing the notion that working fewer than 40 hours per week is acceptable as a potential solution to mitigate these challenges. The notion that a job is either valuable or worthless is not entirely accurate. In reality, most jobs involve a combination of meaningful tasks and some degree of bureaucracy in daily duties. If it were acceptable to declare, "My work is done," and leave for the day, it would be easier to identify those who contribute little. However, as an individual, this isn't always feasible. If you find yourself in a role with numerous tasks, you may need to persevere in the short term. You could consider working on a side hustle during your off time or simply embrace the situation. Many individuals take pride in their seemingly important job titles, which may help them endure mundane tasks like pointless meetings or irrelevant PowerPoints. Of course, if you're genuinely interested in immersing yourself in bureaucracy, you might pursue additional accounting roles or other avenues to expand your involvement.